Oh, okay. That's where we're
And with
taking.
that,
We
that's
live?
the energy.
Are we live? Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, we're
Oh.
live. They can hear us. They just can't see us yet. And this was intentional because I kind of wanted to.
You saw where the conversation was going. You're like, you know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you know,
ruin-
absolutely. I was like, I want to see what like outrageous thing Ryan would say, like when he thinks we're not streaming.
Yeah.
Say something outrageous, Ryan. Go on.
Something outrageous, Ryan.
All right, and with
Boo.
and with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hello, g'day guys. Welcome in. My name's Mike. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. Welcome to Spelljammer, our D&D 5th edition adventure where we go aboard the Northwest, journeying far and wide into the reaches of the Astral Sea with these wonderful and amazing performers, helmed by our dear friend Ryan from Roll for Initiative as our game master. Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Hello, doing
Yeah,
well.
I'm worse after seeing Ryan crack his own neck.
Oh
That
yeah.
was upsetting.
You gotta
like
really
a nut.
gotta get it in there.
Yeah,
One day you're just gonna snap your own neck.
I'm not going to do it on stream because it's one of the gross things about Dag. But let's talk about gross things about Dag. So I used to be a pro martial artist, and I've broken my nose so many times I can actually snap it. Like,
Let's not.
yeah, I'm
Ooh,
not going. I'm just.
I might be watching. Don't
I
do
want
that.
you to know that this
It
is
could be triggering.
you know, if we had superpowers, right? Like if the Avengers were like, "Hey, listen, a building's on fire. We need, you know, broken nose man."
Snap his nose.
I got this.
I don't think it's gonna come up much.
You sure? I mean, you don't know what Nick Fury knows, okay? Calm down. Don't ruin my childhood dreams. Jeez.
Sorry.
Thank you. It's okay. It's time and place, Ellen. Just time and place. It's fine.
The X-Men franchise, especially in the comics, does have some really bad superheroes. I want to know if there's an X-Man or X-Woman, an X-Person whose whole power is just that, like, automatic doors and like air dryers and automatic sinks just doesn't know that they're there.
Ghost.
They're just constantly like,
No, there is an X-Man called
I
Ghost
can't wash
who
my hands.
had exactly that problem. Because there's a series where they explore X-Men who have like the worst powers.
Like worse.
Yeah,
in
no,
the-
there is.
in the early aughts.
And apparently the worst one is like this one X-Man, this one poor kid who has the power to detonate, but no regeneration. So he can
Oh,
use
so
his
he could
power once.
How did he know? How
I-
does he know that he has the power?
I don't know. I
Well,
feel like
finger.
I think they've honed in like you know the process at Xavier's Institute to like figure out like how
Yeah.
powers work, and they went, you know, like, hey, you've got this power, you can use it once. Good luck.
I don't know. There was also the guy who his power was that he was a chicken human hybrid, but that was it.
Leave
Like,
Beak alone. Beak is
Yeah.
fine. I love Beak. Okay, and he was an engineer. Okay, he has a master's degree. What do you have, huh?
that wasn't his power though.
But he still had it.
The power of education.
That's pretty powerful.
The power of
This is the
stay in
episode,
school,
folks.
kids.
Strap
okay?
in.
Don't listen to Will.
Beak-
Don't rely on being a chicken.
He had the power of adorable.
He was adorable.
You know what? I miss Grant.
You know what? We're changing this to a just
Wow.
chilling stream. That's
Wow.
basically
Well, I
what's
was
happening.
going to say, you know, we've talked a lot about X-Men and introducing them. We haven't introduced ourselves.
Good call. Who are these weirdos and wackos? Let's go around the circle, starting with none other than our dear friend Nyx, who is playing the role of Ruin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nyx, and I'm playing the role of Ruin.
Ruin for Captain.
Excellent.
No.
Hashtag Ruin for Captain. If you would like to see Ruin for Captain, dial in 1-800-RUIN-4-CAPTAIN. And
Do
and
not
we-
Jason Todd me.
Our callers are standing by. Our callers are standing by, and we will absolutely Jason Todd him into being a captain. Next up, the totally unsuspicious and definitely not in possession of a split personality that we're still 2 episodes towards the end, and we have no idea what's going on. We have, of course, Will, aka Grant, aka this guy, played by Tuck.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, hi, I'm Tucker. I'm playing Bill right now, and I firmly believe that if your power is being a hybrid chicken human, that is worthless. I will stand by that.
Strong personal statement.
Wow. Okay.
I've known Tucker for 12 years. He's always said that. It's how he introduced
True.
himself. It was very weird.
Oh,
It
yeah?
was in
Yeah.
my wedding vows.
We got hashtag justice for Beak. I like it. Yes, please. Trending on Twitter for some reason. The final trend.
That's gonna
The
be it.
last trend.
The last trend. The last stand. The thing that breaks Twitter. Next up, of course, speaking of people who can break Twitter, we have, of course, the infamous and fabulous Ellen K. Graham playing the role
Hello,
of
yes.
Captain Lockjaw.
Yeah, I even have my hat.
Do ya?
Whoa,
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't fit on my head with my
Nice.
headphones, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm Ellen K. Graham. One, I'm the best one. I'm the only one. And if you find any on Twitter, you can block them. Not that it will matter because it's all crashing to hell around us. Capitalism, am I right, folks? But yeah, you can find me over at Roll to Cast. We're on many other social medias, but also mainly wherever you listen to podcasts. Find Roll to Cast. That's ROLE. We are an any-winning TTRPG podcast, so each season is a different game system. There's something for everyone. We're just wrapping up Avatar Legends, so stay tuned for our interview with Brendan Conway, one of the lead designers of that game, and one of the people working on the original show as well. So it's going to be really awesome to talk to him and pick his brain for all things Avatar. So yeah, subscribe, listen to Roll to Cast, and that'll make me really happy in this unending doom that we see around us. That's me, and I'm playing Captain Lockjaw. And if we really cross our fingers tight, maybe we can hear him singing a Mitski song on the ukulele. I'm hoping it'll be plot relevant.
All the crossed fingers. All right. And of course, as we mentioned before, steering this chaotic ship into the careening void of disaster, we have none other than the wonderful and infamous Ryan from Roll for Initiative.
Yep, that's me. Roll for Initiative. Well, that's me. I'm on Roll for Initiative. We put videos out every Tuesday, although we took a small hiatus because of an injury, but everybody is doing much better now. We make videos on reviews, board games, tabletop RPG is our main bag. Lots of GM diaries and things to just overall make you a better game master as well as a better player, or at least a couple of things that you can try. So yeah, you can find us Roll, ROLL, the other Roll the number 4 Initiative on YouTube, and R4I Vlog on Twitter, and on more recently and on Hive, which is a fun community. Come check us out there. Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored.
All right. And of course, you guys know me. I'm Dead Aussie Gamer, and I am playing the role of Lockridge, the GIF soldier, fighter, gunslinger, security officer. Yeah, that's me. That's what I do. All right. Lastly, guys, we want to take a quick moment to thank the people that make us look cool. And that is, of course, none other than D&D for, of course, the Spelljammer series that the Spelljammer book that we use, available on D&D Beyond and at your local game store. We also have Roll20 as our VTT of choice for this particular show. All the artwork comes courtesy of our dear friends over at Roll for Initiative, as well as the 3D art that you can see there was made by Tuck, because Tuck makes us look awesome. And of course, the sounds that you will hear throughout the course of the game come courtesy of our dear friends over at Sirenscape, where you can not only build your own soundboards in the live, but you can also subscribe to their Twitch channel, where you can go see more of this lovely human over here. Look, behold her. There, you will find them over on Sirenscape as well. And last but not least, you guys. Thank you so much for you guys being here. You guys are an amazing sponsor for the show, and I just want to take a quick moment to let you know that there are a number of ways you can influence the game. Boom, there they are. Right in chat. Nope, no, it's not, because I don't know my own commands. Boom, there it is. Yeah. For $10, you can grant inspiration to the GM. $20, $5 for players, $10 for the GM. $20, you can give a magic item or an alien item as a boon for the party. And for $50, for the very, very last time for this show, you will be able to design an NPC with Ryan for next week's show. But this is the penultimate show, so that offer is only on for today. And that's it. That's the last one. Yep. All right. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, roll that clip.
Welcome back. So, with 2 episodes left, we find the crew of the Northwest well on its way. There's definitely been some bumps along the road, but things seem to be going fairly all right, including the creation of the astral beacons, a truly phenomenal magic item that creates a single point in the astral sea, something that's never been done before and allows for a fixed navigational point. So no longer do people have to use the astral sea guided by their will and their intention alone. 2 of these beacons have been dropped. Their construction is fairly straightforward, powered by arcane magical essences and imbued lastly with the memory of an individual. The stronger the memory and the more of the memory that is given over, the stronger that beacon can be. Ruin discovered the creation of these beacons on accident, and in doing so lost the memory of his father. The captain, Captain Lockjaw, purposefully gave up a memory of his first love, but in doing so also lost some baggage and some negative things that he had taught himself over the years. And coming out of that memory, seemingly lost his desire to drown lots of those things in alcohol. And it seems that maybe losing your memories inside these beacons isn't always a negative thing. 2 beacons remain, and there's been some strange things upon the ship. Some weird nightmare-eating creature, some sort of strange elder being, as well as whatever it is that's going on with Will, who for 3 or 4 days was someone else entirely named Grant and speaking to disembodied fey voices that no one else was able to hear. But other than that, everything is absolutely fine, and we wake to a lovely first ship aboard the Northwest. Will has plotted a course with the help of his patron towards an asteroid, and they are on that way. It should lead to a direct path to Kryn space, but also allow Will to take care of some part of a deal that he's made with his overlord, but we don't know really exactly what that is. As we find ourselves on first watch, let's go ahead and start with a question for the captain. So, Captain,
Yes.
as you make the duty rosters, or at least approve the duty rosters each day, knowing that Ruin does have magical abilities, is Ruin on the rotation to helm the ship, to attune to the spell jamming helm the way that you and Will do?
Yeah. Now that I know that like revealing him to have magical ability was less like, oh, how dare you, and more like, oh, well, time to roll up your sleeves then and start contributing.
Just one more asset. All right, so then
Yeah.
we will decide who it is, and I'm just going to kind of go down the line that I see on my screen. What do we have? 1, 2, and 3. All right, so as we start off this day of work, we do have the captain attuned to the ship and following the directions and the feeling, the sensation that Will has given you to go where it is that we are going to go. We're going to do a little bit of sort of travel at the speed of narration here as we spend the next couple of weeks heading in this direction. So we're kicking things off. Captain, you are attuned, and so sitting in the chair is the kind of go-to place, but attuned to the ship does still, you are able to move around and do other things that don't require you to sever that connection. But let's start with Captain Lockjaw. What would you like to focus on as far as your focus of bettering the morale of the crew or bettering the status of the ship, how well it's being maintained, and if there's any other interactions with crew, NPC crew or player crew that's important for you to get done. What do you want to kick off with?
I think I spent a lot of time, bumping up morale yesterday, so I think I'm gonna put some time into improving the ship. If there's anything in particular that it needs, or is it just kind of like regular maintenance?
There is. Let's see if we have any major needs that have slipped through the cracks and been neglected. Alrighty.
Ooh. Love just seeing random rolls.
So I suppose it may be up to you to decide whether or not this is a huge program problem. But the bulkheads of the ship, there's a lot of graffiti, there's poetry and limericks, and there's a lot of stuff that sort of seems to be scrawled on a lot of the bulkheads. And so as far as the maintenance of the ship is concerned, your ship is starting to look like the bathroom of the CBGB instead of a punk rock bathroom. And very wonderful, thanks to a donation from McClover, I do believe. Everybody does have inspiration, so make sure that in mind. You can use it at a later date that you want to have. So the ship has been sort of tagged up. You can lead if you want to get that cleaned up. That's something that you can lead or delegate, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know how cool. Like you said, like a punk bathroom. How cool does it look? Because I am a bard. Like, I don't know.
Let's
adding
see.
to the tapestry of the ship.
Let's see how cool it is. On a one, it's cool, and on a 2, it's just not good. It's just kind of like, oh, this is tacky.
Yeah. Because if it's tacky, clean that up.
It is pretty tacky.
Yeah, not on my ship. If you're gonna add art, it's gonna be with passion. It's gonna look cohesive to the overall theme. So I'm gonna be delegating some mops and some sponges and whatever, and let's clean this ship up, make it look respectable.
All right, very nice. Let's then kick things just sideways there over to Lock Ridge. Lock Ridge, you can choose to focus on morale, focus on the maintenance of the ship. You've not seen anything to do with that spider that you had been hunting, and there haven't been any other unexplained bites from anybody. And if there's some other interaction that you're particularly keen on pursuing, go for that as well.
I want to be checking up on the that small band of folks who were kind of like pushing for me to be in charge. Just kind of like keeping not keeping appearances. That's the wrong word. It's like I want to make sure that they're seeing the merits in Captain Lockjaw, as in they're not sort of sitting around seething over decisions here and there, that they're actually, like doing jobs and being productive and, like in having a enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. You are able to what was that guy's name? I don't remember his name. You were able to find the ringleader, as it were, of that little group, and you see him. He is working, like he is doing a job. He's not just like lounging around. He's working below decks. It looks like he's kind of helping to sort and catalog just different equipment and supplies that it still were picked up a few weeks ago from that derelict ship, and there was a lot to sort through. So you see him, and then there are two other people that are in there. Two of them you recognize from that group. The other person's working with them. You don't recognize from being in that little clique.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, I'll work with them for a bit of the day, help them out, and like just kind of like, again, like I said, gauge where they're at and make sure that they're they're building reliance on the crew as a whole rather than like.
Roll an insight check.
Insight. Very well. Babouche. I like work. I like this rope. I like this barrel. They are my friends.
So a low roll doesn't always mean a failure. There's degrees of failures or degrees of successes. I mean, you when you sort of broach how everyone's doing and how relationships seem to be going, like everyone's really just sort of in work mode. Nobody has anything overwhelmingly good to say. Nobody has anything bad to say. The folks that that are sort of part of that little shiftier coterie are he says, Captain's made a couple of interesting choices, but overall we've been sailing smoother than we did when we first left port, so proof is in the pudding.
All right, that does make me feel a bit better. That's what I'll be doing for the day. Just just rubbing shoulders with the boys in the bilge,
Yeah. Fantastic. Ruin, you can... A specific interaction that you've been wanting to have, you're more than welcome to go and find that, or you can focus on working to better the ship or to better morale.
Probably, since we're always under a time crunch, do an overall check to make sure things aren't too bad, but mostly just concentrate on next beacon.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can essentially get a lot of the engine built and the casing that it goes in, but not deal with any of the magic that needs to be done sort of more at the last minute. Just make an arcane check. Yeah, absolutely. You're getting pretty good at this. I'll even say that as you work on the housing, sort of the larger the engine itself is maybe the size of like a beach ball, but there's a much larger sort of person-sized housing casing thing that it goes into. I'll say that you're actually getting to the point where you can start embellishing some of the scroll work on the metal and some of the other folks that are in the engineering room, artificers room. They actually start doing some runic carvings and some knot work on it. This one actually, with that roll, this one actually is equal parts form and function, and really just looks very beautiful, as well as the fact that this is a magical device the likes of which the Prime Realms have never seen before. Which, so it looks nice too.
Artisanal beacons.
Yeah, artisanal. yes. Support your local
beacon maker.
Beacon makers, absolutely.
Grass fed.
Yeah, let's go to a farmer's market and get an astral beacon.
Farmer's market beacons. You can cram so many memories into this baby. Yeah, no, it looks beautiful. Takes the whole day, but it's absolutely gorgeous. That thing's gonna sell on Etsy like you wouldn't believe. All right. And a will. If there's a particular interaction you want to have, go for that. As well as you can focus on something specific to the ship or specific to the morale of the crew.
Yeah, so after having lost a few days themselves, due to what is getting chalked up to overworking, and Will sort of noticing how hard everyone has been working for a while, has decided to remind people what we're doing this for. So they're going to make a point to sort of go around and get people in small gatherings and actually go over the actual numbers of just how much money they're standing to make, especially now this is it's moving in the direction of being a success, and just sort of showing people just how rich everyone is going to be having been a part of this, because they probably lost sight of it. Serve as just a morale boost. And after they do, while they're doing that, there's something else, but we can take care of that first.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to say make a performance or persuasion check, and whichever one you choose, you can kind of flavor it that direction, and make it with advantage. Absolutely, going around and showing everybody what their holiday bonus is going to be is take advantage on upping the morale.
Okay. One moment. Just check something quickly. Thought that I had something and it isn't showing on the sheet, so I'm just checking to make sure I actually had it.
What are you looking for?
I thought that oh, I guess not. I thought I had a different invocation, but I do not. So let's do this. Nat 20.
Wow,
or
absolutely.
25.
Okay, so a natural 20, it gets us up to a 25, walking around, showing everybody. And I'm gonna say that you actually realize that people are like the officers themselves could potentially like buy a small rehabbed ship themselves. Nothing as big as the Northwest, and the Northwest isn't that big of a ship. But yeah, you realize like, oh, this is way more lucrative than what we actually thought it might be. So you do exceedingly well, and I'm gonna charge Tucker. I'm gonna charge you with remembering this. But the next time that there is a roll to avoid something negative because of low morale, if Will can if it makes sense for Will to be a part of that resolution, you can make that roll with advantage in the future. So don't forget that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I love it. That gets us through the day and gets us into the evening. So then, Will, I'll start with you. You said there was something else you wanted to do.
Right. While I'm doing that, Will is curious by nature. So while everyone's working, and specifically while Will is sort of giving the spiel to the engineering room group where Ruin is, Will's going to have Prince poke through Ruin's stuff for those notes that he was given a while ago, because Will's been curious about those this whole time. And see if any of those are unsealed and could be poked through.
Okay.
Surreptitiously.
Okay. Roll a sleight of hand check for Prince, and Ruin, roll a perception check.
Can I roll with advantage, since I'm specifically timing this so it's when Will has eyes on Ruin to make sure that he's not going back to the quarters?
Um, um, I'll say sure. Yeah, make Prince's check with advantage, but then Ruin, you still roll a perception check.
23.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so now with your familiar, I believe you can see, like you can sense through your familiar.
Yep.
But to do so, you essentially lose all of your senses yourself.
I can go blind to look through my familiar, or lose hearing to hear through
Okay,
my
so then yeah, we'll say do you approach it in that way? Do you look through Prince's eyes, or do you have Prince like grab a letter in its beak and fly it back to you?
Prince is going to, if Prince finds a letter that is not sealed so that I could read and then could be returned without being obvious it had been read, or a couple of them, Prince would just deposit that into like under Will's mattress, or I guess we're in hammock, so not mattress, but
okay,
like
well then let me ask this. Nix, did Ruin open the letters? Did he go through and read them, or did he recognize what they were and leave them sealed?
Just the one that was addressed to me. Because
Okay,
there was a stack that was addressed from me,
yes,
and then one that was addressed to me.
yes, yeah. So there's a stack of about 20 letters that are addressed from Will to someone, or from Ruin to someone. So Prince finds that stack that's still kind of tied up, and then there is one letter addressed back to Ruin that the envelope itself is open. Yes.
Okay, we'll only take the one with an open envelope.
So he's going to fly that back to the officers' cabins.
I think Ruin and Will have the same cabin, so just tucks it into like some of Will's books or something like that. That only Will goes into.
Does Ruin keep those letters in his cabin, or does he keep them with his stuff in engineering?
In the cabin.
In the cabin. Okay, so then you just time it whenever he's busy, and the bird doesn't have to like. Because I was going to make another roll if there's a bird with a letter in its beak flying through a boat.
Legit.
But yeah, no. You get that, and we'll go ahead and say that we you find a moment where you can sneak back. You can get back to the cabin without anyone else in there and read it.
And then we'll just return it to and then we'll just return it to where it was.
Okay. And so when you read it, essentially, it says
Will's just a curious little bitch.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
I'm glad you said it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Will was really hoping that Ruin would tell him what the letters were, and then Ruin never did, and was like, fuck, I gave you those like a week and a half ago and you still haven't brought it up. Fine, I'll just read one of them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it is the letter is addressed back to Ruin, and it all it says, it's a very short letter, and all it says is Ruin, stop writing me, stop writing to my son, and is signed Kajina.
Kajina.
Dang.
All right. Good to know.
Kajina is the name that the other letters are addressed to.
Was there another name possibly to a son on any of those letters, or is it all just to Kajina?
It just says Kajina Drova.
Okay.
All righty. Does anybody have anything specific that they want to do to interact, a campfire scene that they would like to specifically share this evening?
Who's maybe it's Will. I think Lockjaw would just like to bequeath his medallion.
Oh
that
yeah,
allows
let's
him
play
to
that scene
heal
out. That's great.
when he drinks. And I think he thinks the amulet would be, I don't know, best served maybe in Will's hands.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are sitting around at mess that evening, and yeah, the captain comes down and produces this this amulet that is it's like a little medallion that has engraved in it a overflowing beer stein, but there's a snake wrapped around the beer stein, and the snake has like googly intoxicated eyes and is holding a caduceus staff in its mouth.
Yeah. Really a snake eating itself, but not the Ouroboros.
Yeah, so it's a googly-eyed Ouroboros around a beer stein, is embossed on this necklace. And you can make a perception check.
Ah, yes, that thing I'm very good at. 1.
Yeah, so the captain pulls a necklace out of his pocket.
Here you are.
All right. Is this a bonus of some kind?
Well, it's more like a promise. I know that part and parcel of me becoming captain was proving that I could put away the drink, and this was one of the things I used to use to justify myself. And if you have a bit of a drink, it literally makes all your cares go away. It puts you right.
Must be pretty powerful if it can make all your cares go away with a drink.
Well, I say your cares mean all your cuts and bruises. Stuff on the inside, that's harder to knit together, if you know what I mean.
Huh. Well, that is a useful thing. I mean, I'm not gonna turn that down, but well, thank you, I suppose. And I have noticed that you've been upholding your end of things, so thank you. I know that's probably not the easiest thing. Habits are hard to break.
They are, but when you break them, then you got to start something new. And who knows? Maybe this will loosen you the fuck up a little bit. I say as I drink my tomato juice.
Absolute nice.
Maybe, Captain, but I think that's best for everyone if control is maintained.
If you say so. But I think between all of us, we've got enough control for you to let those shoulders down occasionally.
Also, I'm not exactly a lightweight, and I don't want to drain all the reserves. I think it might undo some of the good work I did with the crew earlier today if I drank more than my fair share of the rum.
Mm-hmm. Or just keep it for emergencies. You never
That I
know
will.
when you'll need a quick heal.
That I will. Thank you for that.
Say no more. And I will swan off looking for some extra juice.
Nice. And Tucker, I will get you that on D&D Beyond. It is the Amulet of the Drunkard. Once per day while wearing it, you can regain 44 plus 4 hit points after you drink a pint of beer, ale, wine, or mead.
Yep. Doesn't say anything about spirits, but you know.
It's true. That's just spirits are just for fun.
Good to know.
Alrighty.
Is that an attunement item?
I do believe that it is.
Okay, cool.
I believe that it requires attunement, yes.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Oh, even
You
better.
just wear it.
But I will get you. I will get that sent back over to you, or you can search for it yourself. Alrighty. So over the, we're gonna say over the next week in general, I'm going to do a couple of rolls just to double check. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see which one everybody wants to focus on, whether it's morale or the maintenance. We're going to do that. But at some point during this week, let's find a chance to see if we can have Ruin and Lockjaw just did it a little bit, but Ruin and Lockjaw take sort of a mini spotlight and sort of explore how things in a meta sense maybe are slightly starting to change and be different with the missing memories. And your characters don't know that they're missing. We're already seeing how it's affecting Lockjaw, but we'll start off with Ruin after I get some of these rolls of just what the others on the crew might notice are different about Ruin now that those memories of this childhood he had with this loving and very caring father are gone. But let's start off with Lockridge. We're gonna say for this next week, do you spend more days focused on morale or maintenance? Make a roll. It can be any skill you want, but then tell me how that skill applies to the way you focus your efforts for that week.
Okay. I think for the most part, seeing as we've spent a lot of time like repairing, maintenance, keeping up morale, we are exploring a wide and otherwise unknown expanse. And sometimes the sheer existential dread that surrounds being in what is effectively a bottomless void, with no destination, no port, no any concept of what's in front of us. I want to work with the navigators to like create a series of landmarks along the way, basically just charting the stars, any particular migration patterns of like the whales that might be in the water, or whatever we can find. Basically, just step by step, making these. It's almost like a trail note, which Lockridge is familiar with the hunting trails and stuff like that in the past. So even if you don't know your way through the forest, you know that these are the landmarks to know that you are going along the right way. Because, sometimes that's just what you need. There's no guarantee that the line between this beacon and the previous one is going to have journeyed through a straight path. Like we could be, like, swaying left and right, and he's just trying to get that bearing. So I'm going to make a survival check to try and make these notes and create this with some measure of accuracy. At least that's the hope.
Yeah.
That's a 13. I'm going to use my inspiration on this one, I think. Right. I would very much like to. Or I could just keep the other roll. That's fine. It's fine too.
Right. 13's not bad. 13's above our average. Yeah, so throughout the week as you sort of check in with Will and all of these, the beacons are acting as these set navigational points in a realm where geographical consistency doesn't exist. And so you say, okay, well, now for the first time in recorded memory, there is a consistent landmark. And so I'm going to say that with a 13, you're able to find two things. There is a pod of these Kindari, these massive whales the easiest thing to compare them to, but they're absolutely massive. Some of these have small towns built on their backs. They are so large. Some of these Kindari themselves, they support these ecosystems, and they can support these communities of 30 or 40 people just on their backs. And you notice later in this week, there's a pod of Kindari that there is just this really beautiful grouping of these pastel colored Kindari. And you remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago when you first reached the Astral Sea, seeing a pod of these creatures with these pastel colored Kindari. And you sort of work out that you think that this is a migration pattern that they take. Where they are going and coming from, you don't really know, but their method of travel through this space, through this Astral Sea, they sort of snake between these two beacons that you've put down, and you think you've got a pretty consistent way of referencing that. It's not by it's not by a star chart or by tides the way it would be on a planet, but it's more by time passage. That's a weird part of the way you keep track of your destination in the Astral Sea, is how long you've been going, not how far. So you're able to do that. And you're also able to, I'm going to say, essentially identify there's a murder comet, which are these comets that are created by these very powerful, very angry spellcasters that essentially turn themselves into this ball of hatred that flies through space. And there's one very specific one that you nickname Grisholt. And you're able to identify it within days, so that you and possibly any other ships that follow this passage behind you are able to avoid it and not have to deal with it, because you can avoid it by days. Yeah, 13's not bad. So you're able to land those two things.
Sweet.
Nice. Let's go to Ruin. Where do you want to focus your efforts between morale and maintenance? And then also, maybe with one specific interaction, or what is it that the people who've gotten to know you on this voyage, how have they started to see you be different over the last 10 days?
I'm probably focused more on maintenance. Over the chain, the last 10 days, I've probably gotten a little bit harder in my demeanor as far as getting the work done. A lot less do the work because it's a proud thing to do. A lot more do the work, or else people won't survive.
Okay.
People are dependent on us to get this work done. So get it done.
Okay, yeah, I think that's definitely something that people start to notice and chat about. It's not causing a problem or anything, but people are just sort of wondering. And there's a few folks, Villia being one of them, that sort of just and it probably seems very out of nowhere for you, that sort of just check in and say, just double check, Mr. Ruin, is everything all right? You seem just a little, you've been driving pretty hard. We just want to check in that everything's okay, sir.
As long as the ship's still moving, everything's okay.
And yeah, you kind of catch that people give each other a couple of glances, because that jovial quality to you that had been there is at least less. But they get to work. It doesn't cause any problems. What skill do you want to use, and how does that flavor as far as your focus on maintenance?
Probably just, assembled a crew of folk to just go around and do the light maintenance today. Nothing too major, a little bit of mending, nothing too terribly strenuous, but pick up the small things that people tend to overlook and forget about.
Nice. Yeah, roll that.
Let's see, what do you want me to roll?
Let's see. Well, let's make that an investigation roll as you look for those small things that aren't a big deal, but they can add up.
9.
Alrighty. So yeah, with a 9, a lot of it seems like busy work, and there's a little bit of grumbling here and there, but I mean, grumbling on a ship because of busy work isn't necessarily unheard of. People do what they're told, even if they don't love it. Absolutely. Will, over this next week, what do you focus on? Maintenance or morale? You choose the skill and then tell me how that flavors the way you approach it.
I'm gonna say that Will's probably going to be going through and just sort of doing a not final, but sort of knowing where we are and how much further we've got to go. It's just going through and doing a full supply maintenance and projection to make sure that, like, for a while we were rationing, just to make sure that we are on schedule to have plenty of food to get through the rest of the journey. If we need to start rationing again, the earlier we start doing that, the less it will hurt. So I guess that be an investigation check?
Do investigation or insight.
Same roll. That is a 22.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you have things, you make the D&D Spelljammer equivalent of an incredibly detailed spreadsheet. And it is solid and good to go. You take into account that, like, who's a vegetarian, who doesn't have teeth, so they have to absorb their food, who doesn't drink, like, you really knock that down so that you actually are able to even be like, okay, well, I know this person doesn't eat meat, so I'm going to give these people a little bit extra, and that's going to make them happier and work better.
All right. Share with Lana and Lockjaw and all of the relevant parties.
Alrighty.
This color coding is a thing of beauty.
And Captain, do you focus on morale? Morale or maintenance? You choose the skill and tell me how it flavors the way that you do that.
For me?
Yes.
Look, I'm gonna go back to morale, I think. Okay. It's kind of feeding off, like, the difference in Lockjaw no longer having certain memories is that he just wants to spend more time with his crew and kind of foster this sense of camaraderie and home on the ship. It's not just a place where you work, it's a place where we live. And he's really trying to become more like a father figure on this ship. So, yeah. What would you like me to roll?
I think a performance would work really well there.
Oh, I've been practicing a song if anyone wants to hear it.
If there's a song, we can roll with advantage.
Oh my God. I got 17. Should I break
or you can save it. It's up to you.
If I play the song, do I get an advantage?
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a go.
Sure, of course. Why not?
Sort of. One more difference.
Hey, it's one more.
All right. Let's give it a go. It's not in my usual register. I couldn't utter my love when it counted. Oh, but I'm singing like a bird about it now. And I couldn't whisper when you needed needed, it shouted. Oh, but I'm singing like a bird about it now. Words hung above, but never would form, like a cry at the final breath that is drawn. Remember me, love, when I'm reborn, as the shrike to your sharp and glorious thorn. Yay! Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's just become a bit more
you know,
sentimental.
the crew absolutely sort of notices this this difference, and you know, it's the work that Lockridge and Ruin have the crew do on maintenance really is like, it goes easier. Like, people are actually enjoying their time. Life on the ship is hard. It is a hard life. And you know, some people go into it for the adventure, but then there's a lot of people that go into it because they don't have any other choices, or this is what their family raised them to do. And there is a sense of real, not just camaraderie amongst sailors, but you know, you've been at sea for about almost 3 months at this point, and there is a real sense of familial quality that this last week has started to really imbue amongst the entire crew, and everyone can sort of sense that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. That gets us through an entire week. The next week goes fairly similarly. You do notice a couple of things. One, some supplies do seem to be running a little lower, and a lot of them are some of the kind of magical spell component supplies that are required to keep some of this maintenance of the ship going, as well as just things like drinking water is starting to run low. Now, those things can be found and harvested while you are on the sea, on the astral sea. And as you approach your destination, again, Will sort of had locked in this new destination that he had received word from his patron is going to continue getting you to Kryn space very quickly, but also his patron told him he needed to head here for some reason. I will say, Will, how do you explain the new destination? Because at this point, everybody that can fly the ship understands Astral Sea works by thinking of a place and we go there in the fastest route, in the most direct route, even if it's not the safest or fastest. So how do you justify changing the route for 2 weeks?
I believe the way that Will put it originally was that as they were going through the charts and their notes, they believe that the state found the most efficient, basically the way to maximize both efficiency and safest. So highest reward with lowest risk. Like, yes, we could go faster, but this is the safest, fastest way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that certainly clocks with everybody. The captain signs off on it and all of that. As the second week starts to wrap, we get a couple of key moments that start to happen. One, the ship itself starts to slow, and we'll say, Will, you are attuned to the helm at this point, and the ship always starts to slow itself whenever it is coming within a certain range of another large body, another ship. One of the Kandari are big enough to do that. The Nebula whale tripped that sort of mooring speed is essentially what you slow to. And as you start to feel the ship slow over the last day or so, you can actually see off in the distance, it'll take you another day to get there, a fairly large body that you take to be this asteroid that's floating along that you've been sent to. So two things are going to happen. One, Will and Lockjaw and Lockridge, the three of you can make insight checks for me, please.
Okay. It's an
11, 18, and 16. Okay, yeah, so
Ignore the second one.
Ignore the second one. Okay, so with an 18 and a 16, both Will and Lockridge, you both, with your positions on the ship, know the manifest, know the inventory. You know the things that are starting to run low. A lot of them that are, spell components that are stardust, that are iron powder, that are, as well as, drinkable water is really easy to find in space sometimes because frozen water melts, especially once you get it into the gravity and into the magical, comfortable temperature on ship. So the two things that come up are, one, we are at the point where we do need to charge and power this third beacon, this very pretty beacon that Ruin and his team created. And two, either before or after, after charging the beacon and dropping it, you guys could actually land on this asteroid that Will had been pointing you at, and resupply some of the things that you're going to need to make it this last leg towards Kryn space. So with the charging of the beacon,
All right, Rune, listen, I've got a quick question for you, my friend. Now, when we set up these beacons, all right, they stop and they hang in space just where they are, right? Hypothetically, just purely hypothetically, if we put this in front of the giant asteroid, what would happen? Hello? Sorry, is this thing on?
Oh, that was the end of the sentence.
That was the end of the sentence. There was this yes. What would happen?
Oh, okay.
To Ruin.
Rune,
Good.
we found a box of instructions. We're playing with fire here.
Okay. Because I've got a crazy thought. It's always a crazy thought. But what if we land on the thing, the giant asteroid, and then we plant the beacon on the asteroid? Because either the asteroid then has a beacon attached to it, so if anyone needs water, right, the beacon follows the asteroid around, and that way it's a good point and a good beacon spot. Or, alternatively, it hangs in space and it goes crashing, careening straight into the thing you just built, destroying it forever.
Well, I don't like the sound of that last one.
Say that. Swings and roundabouts here, all right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Or the beacon being a fixed space, an unstoppable object, it meets immovable beacon, and we tear a hole in magical space time. Whatever.
That one sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
We could nuke reality as we know it.
Ruin, make an Arcana check for me. This is not a high DC for you. You've built.
Well, given that existence expands for about another 3 hours, I think.
Absolutely. So you are aware of the fact that, if you were to place this beacon, essentially, once you're in the gravity well of the asteroid, the beacon would sort of tether itself to this asteroid, and then the asteroid because magic, this beacon stays in one place, and then the asteroid is always here with this beacon, and then the rest of astral sea moves around it. So in this very bizarre, timey-wimey magic way, the asteroid would still keep moving throughout the sea because the asteroid isn't the thing that's moving, the sea is the thing that's moving, and relativity, and don't at me if you're a scientist, and blah, 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 it would work.
So that's all we need to know.
I mean, there's no specific warnings in the instructions that say don't place, so...
Because I
So we
think it's a
should
good
give it
idea,
a
It
go.
right?
doesn't say, like, do not operate within gravity well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
Instructions
makes sense. I
unclear.
mean, I think it's quite a, you know, I mean, I think it's just a very responsible thing to do if we're setting our beacons, you know.
Oh yeah, put it next to a convenience store. It makes sense.
It's
I
true.
think
Yeah,
so.
it's right next to a 7-Eleven or a Wawa or whatever you have.
I mean,
People
as
need
long as
some
it
way
doesn't-
of. Sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, as long as it doesn't break the beacon, I'd say that having it be a pit stop where people can restock on water or reagents or anything like that, that's probably the best option.
Having some way to navigate is partly why. Well, it's mainly why we're here. So let's put a dot on this map so people can find some water.
Alrighty. So the Northwest is able to essentially put into port. You find a reasonable landing space. It's always a little tricky to bring the Northwest in because it doesn't have a perfectly flat bottom, but also asteroids are, there's lots of dust and lots of impact craters and things like that. You're able to find a place to put it into. You do realize, you do appreciate that as you do so, as the air envelopes overlap, the air is refreshed very nicely, and so that's very nice. And we're gonna say that the first thing that we'll take care of as the scouting party, the recovery team, the away party sort of gets things prepped and ready, the first thing that we'll do is take care of Lockridge being the one that charges this beacon. Here, give me 1 second real quick before we start that. Tucker, you had a question about what was going on with Will and Dannon?
I was just holidays have partially destroyed my short-term memory. I was just trying to remember the specifics on what Dannon wanted taken care of.
Oh,
here.
okay.
I think I remember, but I couldn't remember.
Tucker is asking, or Will is trying to remember?
Tucker is asking.
Tucker is asking. Okay, yeah. So, and anybody that wasn't watching last week, yeah. So Dannon, which is Will's patron, informed you that because you haven't been upholding your end with the fairies, with your deal about the fairy court, because they're not around, and he didn't blame you. He needed you to sort of create an opportunity for you to uphold your side of the deal with the Unseelie court. And so there are creatures, there are some animals that have escaped the Unseelie that live on this asteroid, and
That's what it was.
you need something to draw the attention of the Unseelie court to this. And without you knowing it, the beacon's definitely going to do that.
Right.
So that worked out in your favor without you manipulating it to happen.
Yeah, I believe that Dan had specifically said that the beacon will probably do the trap, do it. Now that I'm remembering that conversation. All that being said, as we approach the asteroid, how's Will going to spin this? Will is going to point out that if this is a source of water, it's entirely possible that this asteroid might be inhabited, and so everyone should be careful.
All right. We'll say that you, wonderfully, a away party of all of the officers and captains gets gathered. But before we set off for that, where does Lockridge want to do this ritual of charging the battery? You don't have to do it where it gets placed. You can move it around before it sort of
Listen,
locks
I understand that you've been working hard with your team, Erot, but don't make it weird, okay? We're just charging a battery, okay? I don't need to have the ritual. We don't need candles. We don't need special lights or art. Just tell me where you want to stick my hand, and then I'll do it.
I wouldn't phrase it quite like that, but
Or I could do it as a fist. Is that it's going to help?
Oh,
again,
boy.
you're
Only if you kiss me first.
Okay,
PG, you say this stream is.
There's
What are you
some
talking about?
resistance against your fist at first, but then it sort of sucks it in
Oh
and
dear.
holds very tight at your wrist.
It's true.
Right, I think I've gone too deep.
A little to the left, and you're good.
So this does raise an interesting question.
It does.
Lockridge will be providing the final memory ingredient. But between the three of you, we do need it charged with 3 spell levels of magical essence. So who provides those spell levels?
Do we wanna
so
spread it out?
Will will provide 2 spell levels worth?
I just provide each of my spell slots is 3 spell levels, so
Well,
I'll
I
drop
mean,
one in.
I was going to say, alternatively, what we could do is we could also ask the 3-creen friend of ours, who's also a spellcaster.
Oh yeah.
Nah, Will's got this one.
Nah, that's cool.
Uncharted asteroid. Maybe the healer should keep.
I will. Is this the last thing you're doing today and then setting out tomorrow, or are you planning on setting out immediately after charging the battery?
If we could take a short rest after charging the battery, that would be fantastic.
Okay, I'm sure everybody would appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, it's filled with this blue and orange light, and then there's this pink light that starts to pink metallic liquid metal that starts to fill that as against sort of your Lockridge, as you sort of get tunnel vision as you stare at this thing and kind of like, all right, what is this working? Is this thing on? How is this supposed to work? You feel sort of a pulling at the back of your psyche, and the only thing you can begin to equate it with is hunger. As it starts to pull at you, do you choose to give in this first stage of hunger?
I'm gonna try and consume it. I'm gonna try and eat it myself. No one eats Lockridge. Lockridge eats you.
You do have a second character, right?
Yeah.
Make a willpower save.
Willpower's not a skill. This isn't Pathfinder.
Wisdom.
I know. Everyone yells at me. All right, that's a 13.
At a 13. Nice. You take 13 points of psychic damage as you try to impose your will on the battery. You still feel that sense of hunger on the back of your mind. Do you give in to it, or do you fight against?
I will. I'll try again one more time, just for good measure. I'm gonna try and eat it. I'm gonna try and consume it. Just be like, ah, nom,
all right.
nom, nom. That's a 16.
At a 16? Okay. That's a 10. Take 5 points of psychic damage as you attempt to impose your will on this beacon of unreality that can impose its will on an entire realm of existence.
Look,
You still
Lockridge is not smart, okay? Lockridge at this point is gonna stop feeling tired as he's like, is that all you got?
I feel I understand that he may not be the smartest penny in the fountain, but he also has survived very well.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows 2 of his shipmates did this.
I mean, he doesn't know how they did it. It's not like you can convey, like, psychically, oh, yeah, this thing tried to consume me and then took something from me. It's like, it's...
do either of the 2 of you explain that there's a sense of hunger?
No.
Just relax.
Just relax.
Just
let it happen,
relax.
Lockridge.
Yeah, just go with it.
I love
Actually,
that.
at the point at which you pass out, it will just take memories. So
Yeah,
how many
no,
hit points do you have left?
You
tell me.
Do its thing.
Which way does this go? Does Lockridge fight this until he passes out and it takes the memories, or does he relinquish to the sensation of hunger?
He once hearing the others, he will then relax a little.
Okay.
Because like I said, I think for me that whole bit there is Lockridge's reaction to it. You know. But
I love it. You weren't doing anything wrong.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic.
Because that's what you do. Like if you're stuck in like a trap or mud and stuff like that, you struggle to kind of get out of it. He doesn't understand that you have to let yourself go in order to do this. He thinks that.
Well,
like,
and you don't have any. You have
have
no
to endure it.
arcane. You don't have an arcane understanding. So no, I absolutely love it. It wasn't a critique whatsoever. It was a lovely moment. So yeah, there's these 2 moments of you feel this pull, this psychic pull, and as you fight against it, and you're like, I'm always the bigger guy. You feel it like if the sensation is hunger, you feel its teeth clamp down harder.
Ooh.
And with the encouragement of relaxing into it, as you do start to relax and let it happen, that sensation of pain goes away, and you are sort of awashed with this sensation of numbness, but not in an unpleasant way. It is the absence of the pain. It is the absence of the sensation of the chair you're sitting in. It's sort of just the absence of where you are in this moment. As you sort of are tired and numb a little bit, and as you shake your head even more, your ears sort of prick up a little bit as you hear your medals jingle on your chest, and you hear the low, gravelly voice of Commander Delos talking about this alien race that you've been sent here and the dangers that they pose. And as your vision clears, you're in a tent that you know very well. There's a board behind the Commander Yule Delos, that has, indication of where your camp is, where the believed insurgent or native population that you've been sent here. There's reports of the dangers that they possess and the sort of key elements and the key resources that you're meant to establish a bulkhead or establish fortifications at and hold. And as you're dismissed and you go with your group, there's a sergeant, and they're fairly small groups. There's a sergeant that's in charge of this group that you're with, and 5 other GIF warriors. And you head out. It takes you a good 3 or 4 hours of marching through particularly hot and humid, but very rocky terrain. It is not comfortable, and even for a number of you who really this military life is the life that you lead, like it's tough not to grumble. This is not a fun day, but you find yourself at this area that has been cleared out. There are some small structures, small to a GIF, small structures, and it essentially looks to be a mining platform that uses a natural waterway to create essentially what is a quarry. Your immediate notice is that it is completely silent. There's the sound of water in a water wheel, but there's no work that is going on. Your sergeant cries out for everybody to, find their positions, and with a cry from behind a smaller shed, you hear what you would recognize as a war cry, and it's a language that you don't necessarily recognize. And there is a group of 30 of these creatures that have long pointed faces. They've been painted with war paint. They're armored. They have long ears that go back behind their heads and are decorated with the paint. They have 4 sets of arms and then reverse kneed, powerful legs that as they run, they are almost leaping 10 feet at a stride as they close. They have, they're armored and armed with swords, shields. I mean, it's stuff. None of them have the firearms that you possess, but they are an armed group of about 30 that charge your group's position. The sergeant, who you've not met before this encounter, you've met 2 of the other people in your little battalion of 7 people total, 6 people total, 5 of you, and then the sergeant. The sergeant freezes. You didn't expect this. You had been told that there would be no resistance, and the sergeant freezes, and the 2 people that know you, and then the other 3 that don't, and the other 2 that don't, rather, they look to you. And first of all, how do they address you? By what name do they address you?
Lockridge, his first name is actually Felix.
Felix. So one of the guys that you've known for the longest looks at you and says, "All right, Felix, this worthless pile has nothing to do, so you make the call." It's a bad accent, but hey, at least I'm trying.
All right. All right. You, get the sergeant to clearing. We're going to lay down some cover fire. We don't know exactly how many of these creatures there are, but we're going to make short work of them. All right, form up and lay it down. Do not stop firing until they stop moving.
All right. So there's a wave. There's about 2 waves of gunfire from all of you, and then it does result in just hand-to-hand combat. It's a fairly long fight. Kind of 2 hours goes by. It happens in waves. But after 2 hours, we will say, call me high or low, Michael.
Let's go with high.
This is something that I picked up from Tucker, and I use it all the time. So you called high. The sergeant is dead by the end of this. It took 4 of these 4 armed creatures to take him down. I mean, he did get into the fight. He froze for just those few seconds when you took over. But he is dead at the end of this. A lot of you are cut and bruised, and one of your compatriots definitely has a broken arm. But there's about 60 dead warriors at the end of this. As you move into the quarry, it's definitely a good place for a beachhead. It's going to be easily defendable if more of the fighters are like the ones that you met today, though they definitely have the numbers on you. You are all just larger and stronger. You're better fighters, and you have better weapons. So it might be a protracted battle, but your quick assessment is that you guys can take this. There is a village about 200 yards away from the quarry that you can see has a simple stone wall around it, and then a village of, you would guess from this distance, maybe 200 or 300 buildings in it. You see this. What do you want to do?
All right, men, listen. The sergeant is dead, and until we receive orders from the high office, I'm going to be taking command of this operation. We have a job to do here, and that is to clear out all hostilities in the region so that we can occupy. The quarry itself is going to be pretty much their terrain. Right now, we've got the advantage because of our size and our weapons. But if these creatures who like to close into melee drag us into an on-drawn battle, into an area with hazardous terrain, like with the rocks and stuff from the quarry, we may be in a bit of trouble. So pull together. What explosives do we have? How much materials can we use? And how long can we start a long-form campaign?
All right. They snap to that. They start gathering up what's at the quarry and making it defensible, what they can use from the quarry. There's nothing that you could find that is a ready-made explosive from this quarry. Everything seems to be done pretty much by hand and by a little bit by magic here. But there's nothing that is explosive the way that the GIF understand it to be.
Lockridge like tosses like whatever thing they've been mining, which is clearly valuable to them. Like just throws it aside like garbage, like just worthless. All of it worthless junk.
At the end of the day, so no other forces come from that village. You can see that there are people moving around. You can see essentially fortifications that are starting to go up, but they're like, I mean, there's sharpened poles that are getting shoved into the ground outside of these stone and mud brick walls. But the day goes by, and you receive, there's a runner, there's a messenger that tells you that you need to report back to your HQ. Brainswort Fort is the fort that you guys have built, and it's an occupied area that you have fortified with steel and iron and good material as opposed to this mud brick stuff. And you're told to report back in person to Commander Delos to come back with this messenger.
So just me?
Yeah, just you.
All right. I will grab just some sundry supplies and appoint one of the other guys to be interim CO, and we'll make my way back to the fort with the messenger. I will tell them to hold position till our return, but to use your best judgment, alright? Just because they're smaller doesn't mean we should be underestimating them.
Yeah, alright, I understand.
And I'll make my way with the messenger.
Yeah, you get back. So the commander is there. There's about 6 other sergeants that are there. and they're essentially all giving their report. Make an observation check. Make a check for a skill that doesn't exist in this game. Make an perception check. Well, I'll tell you what, you choose. Make a perception check just to sort of generally, what do you hear without trying? You can make an investigation check if you're actively sort of listening in on everyone else's reports. But
I'll go with perception, just the passive, like listening to things.
Sure.
17.
17, pretty good. Every report is that there's a group of maybe 50. There's one group that it was 100 individuals. My computer's dying and Dawn is being very fantastic and sneaking things in. There's one report where there's 100 of these combatants, but that's the largest group, and the most resistance that you hear is that there was one little battalion that lost 5 GIF because there was it was a much larger town that was trying to be scouted out, and they had a trebuchet, and that just wasn't expected. But like, that is the height of technology that you hear of these people, this group that you have been told for the last month that you've been sent to this planet, that this group is this murderous, psychopathic, existential threat to the GIF, and that they have to be stopped at all costs. And the highest technology you've even heard of, you haven't even seen it, is a trebuchet. It threw a big rock at them, and they just, in their arrogance, weren't ready, and it just crushed like 5 other soldiers. So you hear all of that. It's your turn to deliver your report. How do you flavor the encounter? You don't have to go through the specifics. How do you flavor what that encounter was like? Was this an implacable foe that tried to overwhelm your numbers, or do you describe it in some other way?
I'll say that it was that we were ambushed by a sizable force, and the sergeant at the time was not prepared and fell in battle against the foe. But did we lose any other soldiers besides the sergeant? No.
No, just the sergeant. Some of your guys were hurt. One guy has a broken arm.
Yeah, he then basically says that there is that they offered, like, even in their numbers, the might of the GIF have not even been shook by anything that they have produced thus far.
Okay. So for the next couple of days, first of all, you're given a field promotion to Sergeant First Class. Over the next couple of days, some of the soldiers are switched around. Your group is pulled back in. You're sent out to capture another area. You hear reports back that the town was taken, and that that town near the quarry was taken. That they put up resistance. That everybody of this foe is a warrior, and everyone you've met so far is a warrior. And that no surrender, there is no surrender that's happening. There's no quarter that's given, because they are fighting to the death in everything that meets. It's a planet full of these mindless and voracious killers. You are given orders to take a group of 20. And there is a village that has a small keep on a hill that's just a good tactical position. You are given orders to take a group of 20 to go and take this area. When you arrive, you do see that there is a trebuchet that's here. And you can see folks that are, I mean, you would recognize them standing on the walls, that there are archers, but there are also mages that are on this wall that seem to be ready for defense. How do you choose to make this first attack? Do you try to go by stealth and sneak in and take it unawares, or do you do a charge, or do you do something else?
Given the weapons that they have, I definitely think that underestimating them would be a bad choice. And Lockridge would send out a small platoon first, maybe about 3 or 4 people, and then have the remaining 8 GIF use that initial charge to basically break their formation by having them flank on the east and west sides, and have them collide in the middle and break apart their superior numbers.
Okay. 12 and a 10. So of that first initial group of 4 that you send in, as you send them in to make that one distraction, and then you go do your second thing. In that first group, 2 of the soldiers are overrun, and at the end of the day, well, before we get to the end of the day, so 2 of them are overrun. And you meet back up. Dozens and dozens of soldiers have fallen to all of you. You've probably, I mean, it's a defended city. So there's probably close to 50 fallen enemy soldiers as you find a break in the middle of the day. It's been about 4 hours of fighting, street by street, very difficult urban fighting. 2 of your 20, 2 of that original group are dead, as well as none of your men, none of your 15 have fallen. They've all managed to stay alive. Make a perception check for me.
That is a 19.
19. So there's 50 of the enemy soldiers that are all dead, that you cut through. Swords, axes, armor, shields. And then in the last 10 hour of fighting, there's men and women that are fighting you, or at least the best that you can guess, the masculine and feminine of the species that's here. There's smaller ones. You don't know if it's a subset of a species, and then it dawns on you that some of the ones that are attacking you are adolescent. In the last hour, they're not wearing leather armor. They're wearing like leather blacksmith aprons. They're not wielding daggers. They have like cooking knives and chef's cleavers. And as you take this time at twilight, and the defense seems to be coming a lot less, these are civilians. This town has run out of any type of soldier. And these are civilians. And as you listen to the reports of your other soldiers, for the whole last hour, none of these fighters have come bursting out of alleyways. Every single combatant that you've faced has been when you've entered a building, and they've defended themselves inside their own home. There are no soldiers in this town. There are 50 dead civilians and blacksmiths and priests and bakers and moms and kids and tanners and teachers and monks. There's no militia here, like you were told. This isn't an army barracks on a hill. Now that you look at it closer, maybe, half a mile away, it looks like it might be their equivalent of a church.
What vibe am I picking up from the other soldiers?
Most of them are confirming that this is exactly what all of these other fortifications have been like. They sort of laugh at how poorly armed they are. They make fun of the fact that they're conscripting child soldiers, that that their women try to fight but can't barely lift a sword. Look, this one thinks that this is a sword and holds up what's probably just a dinner knife.
Whoever said that, I'm going to grab that person by the shirt and look like I'm about to strike him, but then don't.
The mood definitely changes. Like they all kind of they shut up.
He
But
says, he stands by the firelight of the campfire and says, "It may be all fun and games for you, alright? But I said this right at the start. You underestimate your enemy and your opponent. You don't look hard enough. And that's how you end up like these two." And I point at the 2 body bags of the 2 guys who died. You have your fun, you have your japes. But we're not here to fuck around. It's the one that we get.
The next day, you are tactically mindful enough that the next day you can take this town. Do you and the remaining team finish taking this town as you were ordered, or do you find a reason to take your team back to your headquarters?
I'm going to tell the team to stand by, and I want to go alone into this city.
Okay. You are met with the sounds of closing doors and sliding furniture in front of the doors, crying. Nobody attacks. Nobody comes out to confront you.
Lockridge has his gun in his hand, and he moves slowly and meaningfully, and he is heading towards that big church building, or the big whatever, that large central building.
You have an idea. I mean, you've seen churches. You've seen places of worship. I mean, the doors are barred and blockaded. But you can see inside. There are people inside, and they are terrified and hiding.
Is there a leader?
You don't really have a way. There's nobody with a particularly large hat.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Who's got the big hat? All right. I'm going to knock on the door. It is a firm.
You hear cries and screams in a language you do not understand.
Lockridge sits. He presses his back up against the wall, the door actually, which probably sounds horrifying from the other side, but he kind of looks at this town and looks at everything. He's always been told that fighting for the gift has been an act of glory, that the gifts themselves were strong enough to tear the gods down from their thrones, that the strength that he was born with came from this line of powerful creatures who could square up against the strongest of enemies. And realizing that for the last, I don't even know how long, that he has been here rampaging like a monster from a storybook that he hasn't been engaged. This hasn't been a fight. This hasn't been a war. This hasn't been a campaign. He takes the sergeant's medal from his shirt, and he leaves it on the doorstep. And as he walks away, he goes back to his troops, and he gives them the order. And
the order to
finish our job.
Okay.
And as they go into the city, Lockridge is going to leave and not look back.
So Lockridge makes it back to the HQ, which is where there's 3 Spelljammer ships that have brought you to this planet. 2 of them have stayed in orbit. There's one down here, and there's one at any given time. As you sort of approach the main tent of the base where the Commander Delos is, make a perception check for me, please.
That's a 3.
Okay. So you do hear what is being said. You hear it because you've sort of already stepped into the opening of the tent with whatever it is that you were going to say. Commander Delos and 2 of the other sergeants are standing over a table. Their backs are to the tent flap where you are, which is, this is not particularly stealthy, but they're engaged in a conversation. And you hear Commander Delos very clearly to these other 2 officers say, look, all of these soldiers are clearly being told that these are a mindless rabble. That is the only story that we need to continue. I don't care how untrue that it is. We keep feeding them that it is for the glory of the GIF, and that if we do not eradicate everyone on this planet and cleanse it, that they will quickly overrun all of our homeworlds and slaughter our children, and that there are not children we are slaughtering here. It is a smaller species of their kind. They reproduce asexually. There are no children here. It is a complete cleansing of the planet. Is that clear?
Was that Delos who said that?
Delos is telling this to the 2 other commanders. These are the 2 commanders that give all of the sergeants the orders. They have not noticed you in the opening of the tent.
There's a moment where Lockridge was hoping that there was some meaning to this campaign, that there was some purpose for the blood that now covers his hands. But hearing that moment, and if Ryan doesn't mind if I take some liberties with this memory,
Yep.
There is a few flashes. The memory here is already kind of frayed at the edges, almost like a tapestry that has been burnt. The first memory is of the table flipping over, and the map and all the tokens scattered about. There is the memory of the 2 sergeants grabbing hold of Lockridge. There is the memory of a large blade cutting into the face of Delos. Lockridge being kind of pinned down by 3 or 4 other GIF before being shot, like basically what's it called, like punted, pistol whipped or rifle whipped in the face, battered and beaten, stripped of the medals that he still wore on his chest, thrown onto one of the spell jamming ships for execution, and next to him a particularly reptilian looking person who is also aboard that vessel.
Okay. So there is a creature that is the
And if Ryan wants it to be, I was hoping that could be how he meets the captain.
Raw.
The captain had a very different, very long naval career. But there is a spelljamming race, the Huarte. And so there's this Huarte member, and they've got lots of tattoos. This is essentially a mercenary. They have a lot of not necessarily pirate tattoos, but nautical tattoos. They are clearly a spelljamming lifer. This is what it is that they do. And this guy, girl, you don't know. They look you up and down and says, it looks like they got you pretty good, yeah?
He Lockridge, kind of has like a swollen eye at this point, like kind of the bruises around his jaw and neck. He's definitely been roughed up. He looks and he says, "You should have seen the other guy."
This reptilian person sort of laughs and says, maybe you want to get them back pretty good. And he sort of takes a claw and digs it down into the scales on its arm and pulls out a long metal pin and uses it and breaks its own manacles open and leans over and breaks yours open, and says, so do we get out of here, or do you want to teach them a lesson first?
Lockridge clenches his fist and looks at this guy and sort of says, "I think school's in session, my friend. What did you have in mind?"
So luckily, while it is difficult to run a spell jamming ship for a long period of time, they can be very difficultly flown essentially by one person. And as carefully laid barrels of explosives go up simultaneously, engulfing the camp, killing the 120 soldiers of the GIF encampment, and this reptilian spellcaster brings your ship up to rendezvous with the other two. And the two of you convey the story that you've rehearsed very carefully over the last few hours of how this planet of the Kuato are technologically advanced beyond what it is that you had expected, that their numbers are vastly overwhelming, and that someone made a huge mistake, that the storms on the planet are full of toxic gases, and that even if this force could be overrun, there's no way you'd be able to have a long-term thing there. And it's bought. You're given medals and pens as the sole survivor of the massacre of Fort Brainswort. As this memory is pulled into the beacon, perhaps there's something about it, that it's not just an inanimate magical object. The beacon pulls from you the memory of the dead civilians. The beacon pulls from you the memory of the conversation at the table where this was all about resources and that the higher-ups knew what they were doing. The beacon pulls from you the memory of setting the explosions that killed hundreds of your fellow soldiers. And all the beacon leaves you is a memory of a planet that the gift will never return to, that will be safe because of how deadly of a place it is. And that you, as the sole survivor, are the one that will keep however many more fellow soldiers as the hero of Fort Brainswipe. That's the memory it leaves you. Taking all of those murders off of your hands, leaving you the memory of doing your best as a soldier in a time of war.
As Lockridge's hand kind of moves away from the beacon, you actually notice that his posture begins to change. He takes one of his big meaty hands and places it over his neck and actually corrects his posture. He actually stands to attention as he looks to the captain and says, "Everything is in order. I think we're just about ready to kick off then. But we get some water and treat whatever we can and prepare for the next journey."
In the very few minutes that we have, after a short rest, everything gets settled up. You do find yourself on the surface of this asteroid, impact craters and sharp, jagged rocks. The four of you have ventured out away from the ship, and you see a outcropping up on a small ridge. We actually can pull the map up and give everybody a look at what it is that you've got here.
Oh.
And there's a small cave on this outcropping, and you see, of all things, this small little creature comes crawling out of the cave. And then there's a second one that follows it. It's got sort of a long serpentine tail and has two sort of two arms that end in just long pincers. It doesn't have hands or anything. That it slithers along the ground, keeping the front of its body upright. Uses these two long pincers to guide itself around. Its head is elongated, this sort of triangular head. And they're very curious looking things. They sort of move around. They've got a row of eyes on each side. And as they move around, their heads move. They're very bird-like in their movement. And they sort of chirp and garble at each other, moving very much like little strange insectoid bird-like creatures. And the pair of them do sort of seem to notice you and your group. And they tentatively take a few steps forward and chirp and seem to look curiously at you. And one comes up to Lockridge. The other one moves over to, does not double in size, moves over to Lockjaw. And they're like, they're maybe the size of like a German Shepherd. These bird-like, insectoid-like worm creatures. And they just sort of chirp and garble at you. And one of them, Lockridge, sort of takes its pincer, pointy hand arm. It's like this long blade of an arm, and just sort of like taps it gently against like part of your armored boot. and chirps and then sort of pecks at you, and then starts just digging around in the dirt around you.
Comfortable.
Oh, what do you make of this?
I'm going to.
Yeah, what do you guys do? There's two of them here.
Oh, I'm going. This looks like protein to me.
Oh.
I mean, I think we leave the beacon, get the water we need, and get out of here. This might be some of the potential residents that I was talking about that we might run into. I don't think that's just these two. If we attack one of them, they might let out a cry, and we might find ourselves swarmed.
Makes sense.
I really doubt there's only these two things on this asteroid living by their lonesome.
And if it's got water, it can probably support life. Makes sense that they would be.
One moves back over to the other one, and they're chirping and warbling back and forth to each other, like holding and one looks and points at Will with its claw and starts to like chirp at his buddy that's over here.
Can I make an Arcana roll, or do these things look familiar at all?
Sure, make an Arcana check.
Oh my god, they're adorable.
Comfortable. That was almost a 20, but that's gonna be a 10.
I mean, they look insectoid. They're acting like birds, but you haven't seen one of these before.
Oh, yeah.
Lockridge, the one that's near yours, sort of with that with that spiky arm, sort of is tinking a piece of metal on your boot and on your shin. But then like right above the knee, like where there's just like leather and fabric, finds that, and then just like pecks it harder, and like you can feel it. Like you don't take damage, but you can feel like it stabs into your leg a little bit.
Will's just
Lockridge goes, hey! And
it hops back and chirps.
Will's also going to take a step further back away from them and looks visibly nervous, which is something that none of you have probably seen before.
All right, I'm gonna take a rock and throw it at it. Not to
take it.
Not to hit it, but you know what I mean. Like when you're like
shoo.
Like get out of here, you.
Yeah.
You chuck this rock and it hits the ground, and like dust goes flying and little pebbles go flying, and it makes this sound like a shrill, crooning sound, and there are plates because it's very smooth, like it has skin, like it's very smooth, but there's plates on the ridge of the back of its neck that the plates start to shake and rattle as it makes this sound.
I think
you pissed it off.
you then see
God damn.
out of the cave, you see another one come crawling up out of the cave. This one looks different. Everybody make a perception check real quick.
I am also immediately casting Armor of Agathis for what it's worth.
Nice.
Was it something like that?
Oop.
Oh my god, can someone
looks
roll
something
over
like
a
that.
7?
No, the audio.
6, 7,
did you guys hear that?
I did.
Oh,
I
sound?
don't like
yeah,
the sound of
saying
it.
that was the sound. 14. So
that's
two
14.
interesting things happen at the exact same time. Will casts Armor of Agathis, and when you cast Armor of Agathis, what does that look like, Will?
Whatever moisture is in the air starts to initially sort of looks like frost is starting to form on their clothing, but then as it builds up, it creates sort of this intricate sort of knotwork of spikes across their shoulders and back and chest that sort of flow with the clothing that they wear.
So you all notice another one come out, and you can all see that it looks different. It's shiny, almost makes it look like it's made out of metal. And Will, with your perception of 14, you can see that this is the same type of creature, but it has 2 tails instead of just one. And it has these large interlocking plates of metal, chitinous metal. it is a heavily armored version of this. And as these two make a shrill sound, this one comes running, slithering up out of the cave, and they all sort of stand still for a second, and then you all see the two that are in front of you. You see their bodies shake, and their smooth, fleshy skin transforms into the shining metal carapace. Their tail splits in two. They shrink a little in size, but are longer and much more lithe and dangerous looking as all three of them become this armored version. And I need all of us to roll for initiative.
Oh!
Which is where we will pick up next week on the last episode of The Flight of the Northwest.
Oh, poo bum we. Why did we have to aggravate the critters?
It stabbed me in the knee.
Immediately checks.
We've all stabbed you in the knee, Lockridge.
Roth, but I know you.
Immediately check to see if I'm wearing a red shirt.
Don't worry, give it a bit of time. Your shirt will be plenty red.
Right.
Next week, we move into the very last episode. We ran a little bit long tonight, so I'm going to make sure that we get time to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Please, I can't wait to see you all next week. But bring a friend, tweet it out. We would love to really send everything off with a bang as we deal with these strange things that can turn into each other. What's going to happen? A huge thanks to everyone that's watching. A huge thanks to Roll20 and Sirenscape and absolutely everyone. Let's kick it off real fast with Ellen. Where can we find you? What do you like to do? Where can we watch and see more of your stuff?
So find Roll to Cast everywhere you can. That's ROLE. It's variety TTRPG, so there's something for everyone. So subscribe to the podcast, listen to it, and head to our YouTube channel as well, where we do monthly live streams of different games. Yeah, that's me. Unless you're in Adelaide, in which case come to My Lover Cindy for the final show of my murder mystery drag show, Who Done Did It? And you'll find out who done did it.
Nice. All right. Let's jump that over to Tucker. Where can we find you? What are you up to when you're not gaming with us?
When I'm not gaming with you guys, I do some 3D modeling. I did a model of the ship, which you will sometimes see on this show. You can email me if you have any questions about commissions or anything like that at shadowcast.creations@gmail.com, or I'm on Instagram at shadowcast_creations.
All righty. And Nix, where can we find you? What are you doing? What can we where can we get more of your stuff?
Hey, I'm Nix. Mostly you can find me for now on Twitter, MC_etching. I'm also over on all the other platforms as Punkle Nix. I'm a nerdy glass etcher, predominantly in TTRPG spaces. So if you need some cool glassware for your tabletop games, for you and your friends, hit me up.
And then that, of course, takes us to Michael. You already know where to find him because you're here. But Michael, what do you got going on?
Hi guys, my name is Michael. I'm the Deados Gamer. This is my place. This is my face. You can find it here a bunch of times. Let's see, what do I have going on? I think we're actually pretty quiet at the moment. I'm on the Careful Cantrip show over there regularly, and I do my Patreon games here. So if you want to go check us out over on Careful Cantrip or hang around here, hit the follow button. I mean, it costs you nothing. I do have one announcement. I mean, it's a bit early for the announcement, but Dragon Kitchen, my cooking show inspired D&D 5th edition game, is coming back for a Christmas special on the 19th of December for the folks in the US, or the 20th of December for the folks in Australia. And we've locked in one of our competitors, which I'm very, very keen to announce, is Duke from One Shot Questers will be stepping into the kitchen to see if he is hot enough to handle all of the really, really cool stuff. But if you don't know what it is, the VOD is up there on Deados Gamer Live. It's basically Iron Chef meets Dungeons and Dragons. That's the whole premise. But yeah, and that's what I've got going on. I think that's it.
Nice. And And I am Ryan. You can find me at Roll4Initiative, Roll ROLL, the number 4 Initiative on YouTube, where we make all of our geeky videos, lots of stuff for gameplay, GM diaries, things to make you a better player and a better game master, as well as plenty of reviews and just fun geeky stuff. Every once in a while my daughter or my dog shows up. Both of them are adorable. And you can find us on Twitter until it burns down, and on Hive at R4I Vlog. And come and find me and ask me questions and Dawn questions and just chat with us. We're pretty cool once you get to know us.
True.
Can confirm. All right, we are going to go and raid our friends over at the Legend of Evantris, who are a bunch of wonderful D&D streamers. They do amazing stuff over on their channel. They are currently playing Icebound, which is their current campaign. So we're going to go send you in that direction. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for giving us your time, your attention. We love your faces, and we hope to see you again next week for our finale. Till we meet again, as always, stay safe, stay wonderful, and as always, game hard or die trying. Bye, everyone!
Bye, everybody.